Hello and welcome back to the box office, guys. Have another episode, first episode of the year. We have had a few smaller cards getting into the bigger portion, so we decided to take January off, but we're back. And we're back with Keith Thurman versus Mario Barrios. This is an interesting matchup in which a lot of questions are going to be answered. One of those questions being is ring rust too much for Keith Thurman? Is Mario Barrios ready to step up and win his first big fight? Lots of questions, lots of answers that we'll be getting for this fight. Let's take a look at the bout. Keith one-time Thurman. He's coming in with 29 wins, 1 loss, 0 draws. 22 of those wins are by the way of knockout. He is currently standing at 5 foot 9 inches and has a 69-inch reach. He is actually the favorite for this bout, but it's more of a 50-50 bout as the odds don't necessarily show too much of an advantage for Keith Thurman, although the odds do favor him winning. His last 3 opponents have been Manny Pacquiao, in which he lost and it was handed his first defeat of his career. Then he got a majority decision win against Josecito Lopez, a split decision win against Danny Garcia, and then a unanimous decision win versus Sean Porter. Keith one-time Thurman, one-time a heavy-handed fighter, has 1 stoppage. His last stoppage was in 2015. I believe it was against Luis Collazo. I'll double check that at the end, correct myself. But he was once known for his tremendous power, and one time, all it takes is one punch, one time, to get you out of there. Ring rust could be a little too much, as his fight against Manny Pacquiao was in 2019, which seems like an eternity ago, almost close to 3 years of inactivity. Mario Barrios, on the other hand, is coming in as the Vegas underdog. He is at a plus 140. Plus 140 for Mario Barrios. He is coming in with a record of 26 wins, 1 loss, 0 draws. 17 of those wins coming by the way of knockout. He is standing at 5 foot 10, 71-inch reach. So he is actually a taller fighter. And this is the same man who his last fight was against Gervonta Tank Davis, in which he was handed his first loss of his career, and he was actually stopped by Tank Davis later in the fight. Previous to Tank Davis, he had a fight against Ryan Carl and Batir. I'll just say Batir because he has an odd last name, and he won that by unanimous decision. Mario Barrios is looking to step up in competition and get his first win in against a different tier of fighter. Now, keys of victory. And the keys of victory for these guys, mainly with the Vegas underdog, I'm going to go with Mario Barrios, is you are a plus 140 underdog. Plus 400 to win by KO, plus 310 to win by decision. Now, the odds might be a little bit off as they have changed tremendously from week to week and day by day as the bets start coming in. He is a plus 140 on BetMGM. And for the keys of victory for the Vegas underdog to pull this off, he's going to need to, 1, attack the body. We've seen Keith Thurman hurt, and we've seen him hurt primarily getting hit to the body. He's been hurt by the likes of Luis Collazo, Josecito Lopez, Sean Porter, and it's just not a hurt to the body. It's when he gets hit to the body, there's a significant reaction to his face and to his body. You can see him even like holding down, clenching. It's bad. So of course, Mario Barrios, you're going to want to attack the body. Step number 2 is going to be angle out. And something that I wanted to kind of throw out there for you, Mario Barrios, is when you fought Gervonta Davis, you were coming forward, you were landing your punches, you throw your flurry, and you got out a lot of those times. Not a lot. You at some point during the fight, you were getting out, keeping your hand out, and stepping straight back. Yes, that worked because you were 5'10", and Gervonta Davis was, I'm not sure, you had a significant height and reach advantage. So pulling straight back, you weren't getting hit. So don't pull straight back on Keith Thurman because he is a taller fighter and he does have a longer reach. If you keep pulling straight back, even if you're nice and balanced and you just go straight back, he'll catch you with the tail end of a punch here and there if he retaliates and just keeps following you back. So you want to angle out. So after you throw your punches, step to the side, pivot, throw one more, or finish off with the jab, and then get your space. Everything is going to be off angling out because you don't want to stay there too much. I know you like to come forward, and you came forward a lot for Gervonta Davis in the first half of the fight, but you don't want to be a sitting target, and you don't want to be in the line of fire when you're unloading your punches. So remember, you throw your punches. If you finish, you're here, step over, and angle out. Don't be a target. Don't be in the line of fire and avoid getting hit because now we're not dealing with the 140-pound power. We're dealing with the 147-pounder. Yes, Tank is known as a heavy hitter, but Thurman at one point was one-time Thurman for a reason. And 3, going back to that Gervonta Davis where you started off well, but you started giving up ground in the second half of the fight. Around round 6, Gervonta Davis decided to start trying to walk you down and succeeded. You don't want to get walked down, not by a bigger fighter like Keith Thurman. So stand your ground. And what you're going to do is when he's coming in, kind of draw that line on the sand, throw that jab, throw those straight punches, and make sure that you let him know that you're there and that he's not going to bully you to go back. The thing about you having a loss and having a knockout loss is that it lays this blueprint. That you're this fighter, that's your style, and if I do this to this style, they're going to get you out of there. Well, just add a wrinkle to your game. Angle out. Stand your ground, draw that line in the sand, flurry, boom, 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 throw to the body, and angle out. You do these 3 things, you're going to give yourself a good chance of pulling off the upset, which, may I add, is not that big of an upset according to the odds. You're only at a plus 140, meaning you bet $100, you'll get 140 in return. It's not necessarily a one-sided fight, and the odd makers see that and believe that possibly the inactivity of Keith Thurman, despite fighting his last fight against a Hall of Famer, has lost some steam in that power and then that conditioning. So Mario Barrios, attack the body, angle out, and draw that line in the sand, and don't give too much ground, and you'll put yourself in a good position to win this bout. Moving over, Keith one-time Thurman. It's been a while since we've seen him fight, right? Since we've seen his name. Well, he is a minus 175 favorite. He is actually, depending on where you can find him, Bovada, changes up the odds opposed to like BetMGM. 175, 160, you can find him. Earlier in the week, and I want to throw this out there before I get to the keys of victory, there was a lot of value last week for Keith Thurman by knockout. He was at a plus 275, meaning you bet $100 if Keith Thurman were to get him out by knockout, you would get $275 plus your $100 in return. That would have been good value for me. It's currently sitting on Bovada as I speak at the time of this video at plus 220. Still good value, but not as it was last week. Potentially because the heavy bettors are probably betting for him to win by knockout because they saw the value in that bet. Anyways, keys of victory for Keith Thurman. Number 1, I'm going to say counter. And I want you to come in here ready and sharp. And I say sharp because you've had a lot of ring rust. So I hope you've been doing your due diligence in the ring. You've been getting your rounds in, your road work. And you've just been training really hard for this fight so you don't miss a beat. Because you come in here and Mario Barrios starts throwing flurries, punches, and bunches. You're going to want to slip, come over the top. You're going to want to feint to the body, come up over the top, fake the jab, come around with the hook. And you're going to want to start countering punches when he comes in to throw with you. Now, if he throws a lazy jab, over the top. If he throws a right cross and he's reaching, if you can slip and hook, whatever you have to do, but start countering. Because he started off hard against Gervonta Davis. In the second half of the fight, it got tough on him. But keys of victory for him, he's going to want to attack the body to level out the playing field in the second half of the fight. So you want to start countering and making second guess. You start landing some power shots, some counters. He won't be as aggressive. You with some ring rust. We don't know what your conditioning is going to look like. You give yourself time and a little bit of room to operate at your pace. So remember to start countering. It's going to be very vital for you, especially as the fight goes on and progresses through the second stage of the fight. Number 2, fight coming forward. I know, again, I said it, there's a blueprint for Mario Barrios, but it's more than just a blueprint. I'm not saying walk them down. I'm not saying come in here, take 2-3 shots, and you come over with your own because you're the bigger fighter. No, I'm saying come fighting forward. When you're throwing that 1-2, make sure that you're using leverage, that you're using your feet to step into your punches. If you're going to throw a hook, make sure that your feet are, after you've stepped forward, 1-2, and you come over with the 3. So little things like fighting forward and countering are going to let you dictate the pace of the fight. If you let him come at you and it turns into all-out brawl, we don't know what Keith Thurman we're going to get. We don't know what Keith Thurman, if he's in shape, if he's not in shape, if his punches aren't popping, if they're thudding punches. We don't know. There's a lot of uncertainties here. So fight moving forward and you dictate. And when he tries to counter, set traps, throw feints. Double that jab up, throw fake to the body, come up top, as I mentioned before. But you want to fight moving forward so that you have that leverage, especially on that 1-2 and that right hand that hasn't seen a stoppage since 2015 and can potentially see one right here in this bout. And number 3, as I mentioned, and I kind of hinted on it already, is going to set up those punches. You don't want to be a one hit, looking for one punch to get this guy out of here. Yeah, we know he's been stopped to the body, but don't overcommit to one punch. Stay balanced, have a balanced attack, fight responsible. You're going to have to be very responsible in this bout because, again, we don't know what Keith Thurman we're getting, right? So I want you to counter when Mario Barrios is coming and throwing punches and bunches. I want you to try to fight coming forward, set things up with the jab, and set up those power punches. Specifically that right hand, you can throw a 1-2 double jab right hand, or even feint to the body and come up over the top. They say the last thing to leave a fighter is his power, and Mario Barrios is moving up in weight. So let's hit him with the 147 pounders as a weight. Natural power, right? And if you do these 3 things, for me, that plus 220 by KO looks very, very, very enticing to me. Something that I would look at twice and we would see where we would go. But Keith Thurman, you do these 3 things, you'll be walking into a victory. At a minus 175, you would have proved the odds makers that they believed in you, but it would have been a tough fight. Keep in mind, you haven't fought in almost 3 years, so we're going to see what you got and if you've been doing your due diligence in the gym. As far as my pick for this fight, it's a legit 50-50 in my book. Now, we could say Mario Barrios hasn't fought at this level or hasn't had success at this level of the fight game. We can say Keith Thurman has not been consistent enough and not being in, not necessarily shape, but competing and fighting. He might have ring rust. A lot of uncertainties, but one thing that I want to bank on is that Keith Thurman is the bigger man physically. Although Barrios poses a taller stature, his frame is relatively small, which was why he was cutting to 140. I do expect him to fill in a little bit more, but I don't think he's been hit clean in a professional bout, and not opposed to sparring, by someone like Keith Thurman. Can Keith Thurman land that punch? In boxing, anything can happen. If Mario Barrios starts landing his punches and attacking the body, I can see him having his way with Keith Thurman. If Keith Thurman is laser sharp and focused and he comes on, I do expect him to get him out of there. As far as my pick, I'm going to go ahead and go with Keith Thurman just because his last fight was against my boy Manny Pacquiao. I love Manny Pacquiao. So I'm going to go with Keith Thurman. I'm actually going to go, if I were to bet, my pick is going to be Keith Thurman by knockout. If you can select Keith Thurman by second half knockout, I would, as he came in strong against Manny Pacquiao second half of the fight. Of course, it could have been due to ring rust, and once he started getting a groove, that's when he came in and gave Manny Pacquiao a decent run for his money. Not quite enough, but I can see that happening, and I can see him getting him out in the second half of the fight because Mario Barrios is just not Manny Pacquiao. Now, that's my pick. I got Keith Thurman by knockout. That's my bet. Just sprinkle a little something on that. Nothing too crazy. Keith Thurman should be able to win this bout. Mario Barrios is going to put up a valiant effort, and he's going to have his ways in this fight, just how he had specific moments and spots against Gervonta Davis. I don't know if it might be a lack of focus. Maybe there's just level to this game, but I personally feel that he's going to show great effort, but Thurman is just going to be able to be a little bit better that night. So with that being said, welcome back, guys. Nice to have you guys in here, and we'll see you for the next bout. Trying to get these in weekly and eventually being on beat so I can get you guys fights as soon as the odds come out, and I can give you a heads up where to look so that you guys can be on it before the odds change. Thank you guys for stopping by, and I'll see you next week. Take care.